I don't know, Larry. I wasn't expecting that to happen. I was just watching uh, a video. It was a DIY, do it yourself on circumcising yourself, and it was pretty straightforward. And I just looked at it and I thought, man, I can do this. It did not go as planned. I don't know. It
Hey, Mark.
next thing I know, I'm driving, having to drive myself to the hospital, and it was embarrassing, but it wasn't near as embarrassing as it was awkward because I got the same lady doctor that I got last week when I accidentally shaved my nipple off, and I look like a Ken doll.
Hey, Mark. Oh,
Yeah.
we're live.
Going live.
Mark, you still look like a Ken doll.
I tell you, we need to put out a disclaimer here that you it is not lawful to record this and replay it somewhere else.
It'll get demonetized. Don't worry.
Uh,
Have you recovered from your self circumcision?
I'm trying to recover from the Larry Porch move,
Yeah, me too.
and that was a full 2 days, basically from 9 o'clock in the morning to midnight at night, both Friday and Saturday night. That was a lot.
Yeah, but I worked my son to death, didn't I?
You made him do something.
Oh, mercy. What's sad is all them boxes are still sitting there unopened, and I'm way up here in Nashville.
Yeah. Well, Shelley did a good job. I was surprised when we came back after that last load how much she had gotten done.
Johnny Gill wants to know if I worked you like a 40-acre mule.
Yeah, he sure did.
He run out of cigarettes about 4 times. But through our move, Mark come up with the idea to talk about a Bigfoot moving.
Well, I don't know. Thinking about all this moving that we've done and planning for it, it made me think about um, the theories and opinions of Bigfoot migration. And well, I'll just right now go ahead and tell everybody I know the facts about Bigfoot migration.
All right, go ahead and tell them the facts. You want me to start a timer?
And that's all I know.
I agree with that. That's all any of us know. Well, some of us claim to know more than others, but I'd say the best evidence. Well, you got to take it by region too. I mean, in the South, there's probably not as much of a need for them to move around or migrate other than their little travel area to keep their food sources and their privacy and all that. But You get up in the mountains, I can see them migrating with the animals for the food and climate, all that type of stuff. But one of my favorite things that I've ever read on the possibility of anybody that studied Bigfoot travel pattern is whenever the NAWAC did Tag 7. And they're not 100% sure they tagged a Bigfoot, but you can go on their website and read about Tag 7. We've had Bob and Kathy Strain on Mark's channel. They were early on. We interviewed them and they talked briefly about Tag 7, but it goes in depth on the NAWAC site about what they did and how they made the GPS tracker. They actually split a kookaburra and glued it to both sides and put like glue from a rat trap on there and hung it on thread around their camp. And they call it Tag 7 because I think 6 times something was deployed and it never did stick. And then the 7th deployment, it stuck and it stayed on whatever it was for 3.5 months or so.
Uh-huh.
It was through late summer, fall, and early winter, I believe, is whenever the battery finally died. But it was it may have been late fall, winter, and early spring. And it may be that I forgot since I've read it. But go to their website and you can check it out and see. But I know that whatever was tagged went about a 30-mile square radius, and it would home in on different areas for different seasons. And it's a pretty cool read.
I guess that's one thing that I would like to talk about is we all have our opinions and theories on what Sasquatch does or is capable of doing. And for me personally, it is important that I look at the evidence independently and not try to work my own opinion or theory into it and start twisting it and molding it into what I think it is. Many times you have evidence A and you have evidence B, and this part in between, you want to fill in with your theory or opinion. And you cannot do that. You've got to let evidence A stand on its own and evidence B stand on its own. When you start working your opinion into what you are finding in the field, then that's when you start warping what is actually going on. And people will get so upset if you ask them questions about their opinion or their theory.
I'm mad right now.
But it's important that you're able to have conversations with other people that are finding the same type of evidence that you are. I know that Kane Michael told us last Thursday night of he was finding the same things in Ohio that Shane Carson is finding in Oregon and in Washington. And so to come together and to have that trust where you can talk about things that you don't necessarily put out there publicly, and to see if there's any kind of evidence that you're able to come to the same conclusions are on.
Right. Well, speaking of Kane, he and Eric worked that area that we went to up in Ohio for what he say, 3 to 5 years before they invited us up.
Yeah.
And they had learned through hiking these areas their travel route and had their time pretty well down. It was about a 30-day window that they made that loop around that area. And we went up there, like they said, we went out and called, got a response right where they thought they would be, moved in that next day, and wham, bam.
Yeah.
Cheryl was cussing them instantly. But that was a good trip. But they didn't think they migrated in and out of the area. They just thought they had I was about to say a migration route, but it's not. It's just a travel route that they use to not deplete their foods, their water, and to not give away their location. If they're constantly moving, they're not leaving a lot of sign in any place. I mean, if one held up in the same little hollow forever and took the same trails in and out of it to get food and water, eventually even me and you could find them, Mark.
Yeah. Well,
maybe.
Let's just say that these are biological animals. Just give me that, Larry.
I'll give it to you right this second.
Give it to me this second. Now, there are two main things that drive all animals, and that is food, a food source, and reproduction. So
that's just you, Mark.
Not after that intro.
That's true. That's over with.
But getting back to what you were saying at the beginning about how different parts of the country that there are probably differences. And I agree with that. You look at the Rocky Mountains or you look out on the West Coast, I personally feel like they do have travel routes. And so if they have travel routes, then they know when these food sources are going to come into play at certain times of the year. Let's say you're somewhere on the West Coast and the salmon start coming upstream, and let's say it lasts for 6 days. I guarantee you they know when those 6 days are, and they are sitting there ready for them when they come up. That's an easy meal for them to be able to catch the salmon. So it's just like a deer hunter. A deer hunter in our part of the country, they know where every white oak tree is because they know that the deer know where every white oak tree is. And during hunting season, when the acorns start falling, they know that these deer are going to be coming into this area looking for the mast.
Donald Fuller asked, people say they move to keep from depleting their food. What kind of food can recover in 30 days?
Well, if let's say the travel route is 30 miles, then that's a lot of food. They're not depleting the food in every day in each spot that they go to.
That's the point of it. It's not that they're eating the same food in the same area all the time, but if they stayed in one area and they're required to eat 3 times the calories we do in a day, there wouldn't be a green leaf left on a tree anywhere. There wouldn't be a deer left. Whatever they decided to eat, if they stayed in one little spot, would be gone. With them having a travel route, they can eat a little bit at each spot, and it's never noticed, and it's never depleted. It's not that they're going around and harvesting corn. It's not a certain plant. So the 30-day travel route allows them less sign, less impact on their environment that they use. Unlike us humans, we set up shop and we might deplete an area of all the resources. It's not because we're not intelligent, it's because we're greedy people and lazy usually. And they're not. They know that they have to live off this stuff, so they're going to take care of it, where sometimes we as people don't take care of our environment like we should.
And I feel like other animals do that. I feel like the coyotes do that. They have their own home territory that they travel and work, and they just don't stay bedded up in a half-acre spot. You know, they're constantly moving. That's why when you hear the alpha male put out his call, he's calling in the pack. They're all spread out, and he will put that call out, and they will all come together and then hunt as a pack.
My bad, Mark. I was reading chat.
if people have questions or theories or comments, we would love to hear them. I feel like so many times, and this is a bad part of the community, that you could take two people that agree on 98% of theory about Bigfoot, but that 2% they don't agree on, and they will hate each other's guts for it and tear them apart and throw them up underneath the bus at any opportunity that they get.
Right. And like we said in the beginning, the South region for them is probably a lot easier for them to live in than if they're in Antarctica or Canada area. You get those heavy snowfalls and all the game animals move down to lower elevations and all that. They've got to. There's just not going to be anything there that's going to sustain them as big as they are, I wouldn't think. But they may know stuff to eat that we don't even think about because we're stupid. Is Larry going to have, oh, gee.
Take that down.
You can't take that Bama nowhere.
I remember a road trip that I did with Cam Buckner from Dixie Cryptid. And he has done a lot of study and on coyotes, where people say that the more coyotes you shoot, the thinner the population will be. And there has been scientific studies that say the opposite of that. Say whenever that they're doing their calls, it tells the females when they should come into estrus. And so
does that work for us?
I don't think that works for us.
Oh.
But it was really it was insightful to hear Cam talk about all this scientific stuff that they have learned about the coyotes.
Well, speaking of your botched circumcision, I've always heard that squirrels, they know if the mass production is going to be good or not. And if it's bad, when the female has a litter of babies, that they will actually, kind word to say is castrate their young males so they don't breed too much.
Uh-huh.
I don't know that that's a scientific fact, but I've always been told that. I'm not much into scientific facts if you don't know. I just go and do stuff. That's all. Do you know JJ?
Yes.
Ain't that one of them wrestling brothers? I don't think they're different than any other predator out there. They follow the food. I agree. That's what I
I
follow.
agree. I agree.
Uh, Mark Ledford says, Mark, is it mostly seasonal hunting? Is that for the coyote thing he was talking about, Mark, or what?
I don't know. Here in Tennessee, it's open season on them.
Yeah, it's all year round. Here's what. Well, come on up there, Mr. 5 second delay. Papa Craig C said, if you try to thin coyote populations, they have more pups.
You know, I believe I heard Cam say that.
Most animals are aware of their population and do control it one way or another, depending on food source and all that. Unfortunately, us humans intervene too much, and sometimes they don't recover from it. BF Bud says, I would guess they have ranges, regions, as Larry said, opportunistic hunters and gatherers. That's the way I feel.
Yeah, me too.
Spencer says maybe if their food source moved to keep from depleting the food, they simply follow the prey animals. It's
And
all
I imagine their travel routes change over the years according to the weather and everything could be in that equation.
Let's see. Mark asks, do animals hunt by season? Predators don't. They
Yeah.
hunt when their belly's empty. Uh, but no, I know somebody said, how do they know that it was that tag 7 was stuck to a Bigfoot? They said, why would a Bigfoot leave it stuck to themselves? And the answer is, I don't know, but they tested this thing out. You can read it on their website that they tested it out and figured out that the best thing to stick to anything was what they come up with, because they tested it on, like, the guy had a turkey wing or something to see if it would stick to feathers. They tried different types of fur from rabbits and everything else, and what they came up with was the best scenario for it to stick. Now, they're saying a Bigfoot could have picked it off, but yeah, it could have, but I'm sure they get stuck with stuff all the time, and if it gets matted up in their fur bad enough, they're not going to have much of a way to get it out. They don't have scissors. If we get chewing gum stuck in our hair, Mama's getting the scissors out and cutting the chewing gum out. Some stuff you just can't pick out of hair. And if their hair's 4 to 6 inches long, some say shorter. They've all been seen with different lengths and everything. But, I mean, they've studied black bear, they've studied cougars, and the ranges for those animals didn't match up to the range that this creature took or animal. They thought maybe an owl flew through the string and it got stuck on an owl, and they decided it wasn't that. They ruled out a lot of stuff they didn't think it could have been, but they were not 100% sure it was a Bigfoot. They just don't know anything else that would have been in that area that they had been researching and set up for of a known animal that would have done what this did, other than a possible Bigfoot. So, Rodney Beasley said Bigfoot have hair. I don't know. I ain't seen one. Have you seen one, Rodney? They might shave. I don't know. Their mamas may have scissors.
You know, one thing that I appreciate about the NAWAC, and I think they're probably one of the best groups that is out there, is if you have a theory or an opinion on something, it is absolutely your job to prove that theory or opinion.
That's your job. My job is just to go eat.
But if you feel so compelled that you should throw people under the bus and everything else, if they don't agree with you and your opinion, you need to prove that. And you look at the work that the NAWAC put in.
Don't you call it NAWAC.
I didn't, but you did.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, Bob scolded you live on the air.
He sure did. But that's all right. He's earned that right.
But you look at the work they did. They worked for months to find the right glue to glue that kookaburra back together. And that's the kind of commitment and diligency that you should have if you want to go out and say, this is what I think, and this is what I've done, and this is the results of it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there are a few groups out there that have some scientific-minded people in it, but NAWAC is one of them that has a lot. And I know they're pro-kill and all that because they believe they got to have one to prove to science that they're real. And that ain't our stick, but that's theirs, and they scientifically do other things besides that. So, and they document, I mean, every idea they come up with. If you want to read about it, they document it and they put it out for the public to read and look at. They got biologists, they got pilots, they've got every facet of the community you can have besides just two Joe Blows like me and Mark. But the idea is that they migrate as many as 300 or 400 miles. I'm not sold on that. I mean, in the upper north and the harsh climates, they may do that because they have to. But here in the south or the Pacific Northwest, I can't see them migrating that far, personally.
You know, I think a lot they could have larger travel routes because of the more elevation that there is in their terrain. And if that's the case, then go out and prove it. You can identify prints of individuals, and you can show where this individual was here, and 2 months later, when the salmon were swimming upstream, you know, they were 50 miles away, you know. Yeah. So there are ways to prove it. Look, any obstacles that you have, look for ways to get around those obstacles. And that's what the NAWAC did, and there's other groups like them that use their intelligence and their education. And it's like what Larry said, they've got pilots and doctors and engineers, and they work together and they let the evidence speak for itself instead of getting all pissy with one another if somebody has a different theory or opinion on it.
Right. And I know they're trying to duplicate what they did. Technology is getting better to where it's going to be easier, but I know they had a lot of trouble whenever that tag was set. I know a couple of them were taken and they didn't deploy, or they had something go on with them. And I can't remember, Bob said those little tracking chips cost a couple of $100, and the battery on them only lasted 3 months or so. And whenever this thing was deployed, they looked immediately around camp on foot, on four-wheeler and everything else, and couldn't ever really get a signal on it till somebody come up with the idea to get the equipment to track it from the air. And then that's whenever they got a hit on it. And every time they'd get close to it, it would take off and be gone, where they couldn't even get close to see what it was. So,
you know, that's something that really struck me, and that we can assume some things, and that shows what the Sasquatch intelligence is and how they can reason. If you've got a plane that keeps circling over you, trying to pick up that radio frequency, and it knows something, it's circling it and following it, even though it's from the air, that really shows what these animals are capable of doing and thinking.
right. Donald Fuller says that the NAWAC hit one and got blood, but didn't take it down. And I believe the answer to that is yes, I think.
Yeah.
They said they hit one and got blood and took the blood samples, but didn't get a good hit on it and didn't feel like they killed it. They wounded it and felt like it would survive it. So they never found anything. Uh-oh. Johnny Gill is going to ask. Oh, boy. I'm going to put this up here because Johnny shouldn't be so mean to me. I'm going to ask Egghead Larry again. Do you think Bigfoot follow power lines?
Why are you so mad, Johnny?
Yeah, Johnny. Just relax. Listen to some blackberry smoke. The experts claim they follow power lines. I've never seen one on a power line.
They would, I would feel it safe to say that they've got to cross them. And that's what, when we go out and there's power lines, that's what we look for, is for where there's tall boy trails that come to the edge of a power line, and then to pick it up from the other side.
Well, a lot of people do claim that they use the power lines because they're easier to traverse during the night time and all, when we're all asleep and slobbering on our pillows. And I know whenever I go hunting sometimes that I'll hit a deer trail down a power line to get to different ridges and stuff. So I can see that happening for sure.
JJ just made a great comment.
JJ ought to come on here and talk to us. There are no Bigfoot experts, Larry. Well, you need to talk to some of them, because some of them are. I'm not one. I'm an experiencer, but I'm not an expert. SoCom Smith. This ain't in capitals, but he's got my sense of humor.
I didn't get a chance to read that.
It says, I don't think a power line will support their weight. Oh, gosh. Yeah, that's another thing on the migration and stuff. With all the wildfires out west and everywhere else, I would say sometimes that if you want to consider it a migration, that's a forced migration, in my opinion, where they have to flee because they are in fear for their life. Even unless they hit that portal everybody talks about and just zip to the other side of the fire. Don't you sit there and read the chat, Mark. You listen to me. You know I can only say 3 sentences and then I'm done. Donald Fuller, I scoped 3 dark individuals walking up a particularly steep part of a ski slope at Mad River Glen.
I wonder if he was able to record that.
I wonder if he went up there and checked for prints later.
Yeah.
If there was snow on the snow slope. Ski slope. It could have been in the off season and it wasn't there. JJ, where are they? I'll talk to them. Well, just go to any conference and you'll find them. I can promise you. And if you can't find them at a conference, they may have written a book. Have you wrote a book yet, Mark?
I have not.
You need to get started on it.
I don't know enough to write a book. It seems like the more that I learn about these creatures, the more I realize that I don't know squatch.
Yeah. Let's see here. Well, there's that nice lag again. I don't know if it's going to go up. Spencer said he can't believe I said particularly incorrect.
I can.
I can too. Squatch Talk says, I guess it depends on the definition of migration measured in miles.
I would say that's a true statement.
Yeah, because most people are going to think if it walked 10 miles, it's migrated. Some people think if it walked 300, it migrated. So
yeah,
that is very true. But my migration means from a different area, climate to another.
To me, it would mean something like what geese do or what hummingbirds do. Something to that effect.
Something very drastic. You know what happens to them geese? Bama Murdoch says maybe the male Bigfoot migrate during certain parts of the female Bigfoot cycle, for peace of mind. And it's been said for years by some that claim to know that the juvenile males will get pushed out of a family group and that they will travel to find a group that will allow them in for those purposes, Bama. For peace of mind purposes. Or peace, anyway. Mark, are you still reading chat?
No. I think you are, though.
Well, I am. I'm looking for questions while you're talking. Where did the circling back every 30-day theory come from? Go ahead, Mark. I'll just take a break.
I'm just going to say it is from looking at the facts and reading the facts and letting the facts stay on its own. They were able to find the same prints and every 30 days of them coming through there, using the same tall boy trails. And I remember Eric. I was out with Eric, and we were looking at them, and it's like once you find a sign, you do what a tracker does. So you go into circles until you find the next sign. And while going into circles, we were able to find an old trackway that they might have used years before, and that the trackways change over time. And so it is this group that are using the same trackways.
Yeah, it took them. They didn't just walk in and say, "Hey, I think they do this," and discovered it. They, like Mark said, went and they found tracks, they found other type sign, and they would search an area, not see any sign, go back, pick up another sign in another area. And like Kane said the other night, they plotted this on maps as they went, and they figured out that it made a circle from picking it up in these areas and connecting dots where they had gaps, like Mark told us not to do earlier. No, on a trackway, that's different. But whenever you're taking this thing, making a vocalization in the summer of '69, and then this one made one in the spring of '84, so they got to be related, and this is why. That's making up crap. But they didn't make it up. They just went and they studied the different sign they were finding. They knew the area, knew when the sign was fresh, when it was old, and they came up with this, and they told us about it and said that we're going to be right in front of them. And me and Mark went, and Cheryl and Justin Edge, and we had action the whole time we were there. So they were not wrong. Oh, gosh, it always moves. Did anyone go back 30 days after the tracks were found at your meetup?
We have gone back many times. And the thing with this area is it who it was at Winter Pool whenever we found it. And then they start raising the water levels up. But when they were dropping the water levels, then that's when it was exposing the mussels, the freshwater mussels. And we feel like that's what they were feeding on when they came out of the wood line.
Right. This was a seasonal trackway we found, not a natural trackway that they normally took. They jumped out there for food. And next year, whenever the water's drawn down again, Mark and Shelly are going to be up there looking for them while I'm eating a bowl of chili back at the house.
And we have found signs there over the years. That's one reason why we wanted to have the meet and greet there. We knew that it was an active area.
Yeah, there's been a lot of people that's had things happen that they decided was Bigfoot activity. And I mean, we've had quite a bit of stuff happen there too. So it's just a good spot. But the tracks, they only were dumb enough to leave the tracks at that point because they were out there getting a food source that was very seasonal. What question are you looking at with your mouth open there, Mark?
I'm not looking at any questions.
What?
Well,
that means it's the end of the show then, and I'm going to bed.
Well, Scott Espinosa just talked about he commented the twisted coyote, and that's where that was found, was up on top of that ridge.
Yeah, that's true. I just saw something from Chris, and I lost it.
Put it up there again, Chris.
Well, he was saying that was the luxury of a trading post, because then he kind of knew the time, because he could tell by when the stuff was taken or moved from the trading post, and I'm just filling in what I think he was talking about. But I think that was the gist of it, and I can agree with that. That does make it a little bit easier to figure out the time they're coming through and the times they're not there. Donald Fuller asked another question. It was about, did you find any evidence of them digging up the mussels?
Yes.
What kind of evidence did you find?
Well, we found the aftermath evidence where we found piles of empty mussel shells that had been broken up. And you could see where they were going down to where the water level was looking for the mussels.
I even found rocks that had been turned over, big ones,
Yeah.
where they were looking for crayfish and snakes, whatever else you may find under the rocks. You could tell that they had been recently moved. And could it have been a human doing it? It could have been. But it's funny, there's Bigfoot tracks leading right that way. Oh, JD Sedonia said you're looking at wound care for circumcision injuries.
For those tuning in late, they missed that.
Oh, I've already got an email from YouTube. Squatch Talk says if they're in Florida, they aren't leaving Florida. That's for sure. I would agree with that. They might if one of them Burmese pythons gets after them. I'd like to watch that from a distance. A Bigfoot and a Burmese python. I may have missed it. Just reset again. Oh. Donald Fuller had a great question, and I hope I asked it. Here's one. You can discuss this one, Mark. It was about the twisted coyote. Was it actually twisted? Bring up that picture, Mark.
I could not find that picture right now. I got it on a different...
It was on your presentation for that crappy continent you went to.
I've got I'm not sure which hard drive it would be on, but I'm going to tell you that Yodi was twisted like a dish rag.
Yeah, it was. The Geises are the one that found it initially, and then Kane and Eric went back the next day and saw it also. And then the next day, people went to look for it, and I believe it was gone after day 2.
Yeah.
So it's like they killed it, left it there, nothing bothered it, and they may have came back for it or something may have got it, but it wasn't killed by any animal I know that would twist something like that. I mean, a cat or anything. Bear, nothing's going to twist something like you're wringing out a rag. And that's how coyote was. So it took hands of some sort. And this wasn't the largest coyote you'd ever seen either. It was probably a small, medium-sized coyote. It wasn't a pup by no means, but probably 8 months old to a year.
Yeah,
that's a guesstimation. What are you just doing?
Well, I'm gonna see if I can find it.
Well, I wish you luck on that.
Yeah.
I don't know why everybody thinks Florida's so great for Bigfoot. Why is that? Is it great for Bigfoot, Mark?
I think there's a lot of activity down there, a lot of documented activity.
Scott's reminding us we found the cracked turtle shell too. Do you remember the cracked turtle shell?
I remember them talking about it.
Chris asks, well, there goes that lag again. You think they move through water to stay hidden? I do. I really do. I think some of the creeks, I think they walk down the creeks to hide their footprints at certain points. And the smaller rivers, I wouldn't doubt it. I know some people claim they've seen them swimming. So I think they use water to their advantage. I know Kane has found tracks in the creek at his former research area that you could tell they were off in the creek, and you could see toes in them. He cast them, but I don't remember if the cast came out good because they were in a couple of inches of water. But yeah, I think they use the water to their advantage. I think they use everything in their environment to their advantage as much as possible. I find myself looking more now in ditches, not on the edge, but in the water, to see if anything has walked up through there, because so many people have found them out in the water. I believe Chris and Shane and them on the end of the 400 found those on the edge of the creek where the creek had went down.
Yeah.
So I don't know if those were underwater previously or not, but Bill Brown, do they actually tear or twist animals? Is this to get to vital organs? Bill, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have not heard of another twisted type animal except for Kane. You had that picture of the squirrel on last week. That thing was kind of wrung or stretched. I really don't know what their method is to that or the reason why that coyote was twisted like that. But the night before, we actually heard the coyotes howling, and we heard a coyote yelp, and then everything went quiet. We can't say 100% sure that we actually heard the coyote that was twisted be killed, but the indications are that's what happened. But I honestly don't know why the twist. It wasn't in the head area. It was like it picked it up on the body and twisted the body to break the spine. I don't know. Mark, what's your idea on that?
I don't know. I'm looking for this picture because I
would
like to show it.
You need to show it. Iron Dogger says maybe it's the way they tan the hide fur. They better turn it inside out, and they may have. They may have took it off somewhere and done that. Who knows? Hope I ain't missed nobody. John Barfield, why do they do the 300-pound owl call to women? Well, why is it that construction workers howl and whistle at women when they walk down the road? No, I don't know if that's the reason, but they use mimics of animals to see the people's awareness of their surroundings, and who knows, maybe that's something they do to the females of their species, and they're just used to doing that to see if the women will pay attention to it. I don't know. Mark, can you come up with some dumb idea on that? So I can quit talking about it.
You just keep talking.
John, I have no idea. I just know they mimic other animals in the woods because they feel more comfortable vocalizing like that. And I really do think they use that to check our awareness to see if we're paying attention or not. And 90% of people will hear the owl call and say it's an owl. And 90% of the time, they're correct. All right. Sharon Aaron has a question here. Do you think it is possible that Bigfoot behavior is affected by the full moon like some humans?
And other animals.
Yeah. Well, don't just stop there. Are you
Well,
looking for that picture?
yeah, I'm going to give up looking for it. We can pull it up on a different show.
Yeah. We'll get it for y'all and show it to you if we get their permission. Now, why do you think the full moon affects them? I know we have less activity on a full moon, or they're less vocal. I'm not going to say we get less activity. They're less vocal and they don't come in as close. And that's just because of their perception that we can see as well as they do. And I can't see during the daylight as well as they do. But I don't know that that makes them a little loony like it does some. It may. All right, Mark. Oh, I missed another question, I'm afraid. Is Shelly texting you again? Would you tell her to quit? Don,
That's Bradley Hatcher texting me.
is he going on another podcast? I want you to call him there.
He wants to know, is it easier to twist a coyote like a dish rag if you use some coconut oil, Larry? That's a question to you. That Bradley Hatcher, you can't take him nowhere.
Oh, I don't know about that. Donald Fuller wants to know, was the coyote close to a road or a trail? It was on an old logging road. It was not on a trail or a used road.
Yeah, it was a very secluded ridge line.
Coconut oil never die. Never. I know one thing, Mark. I'm still tired. Michael Haywood come up with the best explanation out of anybody. He said he was trying to crank a howl out of him. I will tell you this. I've killed a turkey or two in my lifetime, and if you hit their little wind box, you can get a sound out of them. So the way this one was twisted, I don't think he got much out of this one. Mark, are you the color commentator or are you the play-by-play guy?
I'm not sure.
Well, in an outdoor guy, what is y'all's opinion on making a structure to get a response? Mark?
I don't know. I guess I've never thought about a structure to get a response. I would think that the structures would be a communication to others that are in the troop that may come in after them. I don't know.
I do know of somebody who has urinated on one and it got destroyed. And I know Kane last Thursday said that he would duplicate something that he saw and it would get duplicated. So for it to work, you have to put it in the right spot at the right place to mean the right thing to them, or they're probably going to ignore it. And unfortunately, I don't know the right place or the right thing to say. So you could get a reaction out of it, and it may sit there and rot, and nothing ever happened. But hey, it's worth a try. I mean,
Yeah.
if you were on a trackway and you were seeing sign, and you wanted to try to do something like that, and you're not afraid of an aggressive response or something, it would be worth a try. You may go back in there the next time and everything in there is ripped to shreds and tore up, and they may not come through again. Who knows? But at this point, anything that's not going to jeopardize your life is worth trying. There's been people come up with some off the wall things that had some success with them. So for anybody to shoot down anybody's theory of something to try, if they haven't tried it, then it's just sour grapes or something. And I'm not going to ever shoot down anybody's theories on something until I can know for a fact that they're not going to work, or they do work 100%. And since I don't know either way, I'm going to say find a good area and try it.
Yeah.
And if
document it.
You hear something bluff charging you, you might have to rethink it.
If you get out of there.
Yeah, if you make it out. Pork and Beans wants to know, why do they call? That's your question, Mark. I'm tired of answering questions.
We don't know.
You do know.
We have heard different calls. So what is the vocabulary of each call, and what does it mean? There's some that we have a pretty good idea of what they mean. We have experienced it. So, but do we actually know? We don't know.
The basic answer is they do it for communication. But the specific answer is we don't know, because we don't know what they're communicating. We just know that they are. We think that a whoop is like a locator call at some point, but when we think tree knots, they're communicating with each other on hunting, or to let somebody know there's danger, and there's other people think they mean other things. Everybody's got theories on what things mean, but it's not been 100% proven on any of it. But it's some type of communication.
I just saw where Iron Dogger asked, how do we document? And
we tell Shelly.
I wish if Shelly was on here, we'd make her drag out those books, because she probably has a stack of hardbound books that she writes and documents everything from the weather to what the moon phase was, what happened, what time it happened, when it happened, what our reactions were. Even if you don't think it's important to document it, you should still document it.
Yeah. And I know some people put it in a database and they look for repeats in the patterns or whatever. And documentation is the key. If you're wanting to prove something, like a call, for instance, means something, if you can document this and this happened, and you document it again and it happens, and you document it again and it happens, you're on a pretty good pattern that you may be on to something there. So I'm just glad we got Shelly, or nothing ever get documented. Night Wolf, Johnny asked, do you think Bama and Spencer could trap a Bigfoot? Well, they're as likely to do it as anybody I know.
Yeah.
So it just depends on how hard they want to work at it. But if it's possible, they could possibly do it.
And I'd like to throw Can Squatch in name in there with those two because I like the way he thinks in the woods.
Yeah.
And
He thinks like a lawyer or something.
yeah.
I don't know.
But just because you have an IQ don't really mean that you're look, I will take common sense over IQ any day of the week.
Yeah. And since we don't have either, we just accept what we got. Ain't that right, Mark?
That's right.
FGG said something that's supposed to be good, and I've missed it.
Steven, hang on. Steven just sent me something that he found, and it's real similar.
Hang on.
Hang on. It's going to take a minute.
Hang on.
Dog doo-doo. It won't let me.
FGG said yes, that is good.
Save image. Okay. Let me see if I can email it to myself.
You can. I got faith in you. I think you can do it. Well, now you got dead air again. You can't have dead air, Mark.
You're going to have to keep talking.
I don't like talking. I'm tired and I'm ready to go to sleep. That hotel bed back there is just saying, Larry, you got to get up early in the morning. It's time for bed. I don't know what FGG observed, but I missed it. Pork and Beans says, do you think Sasquatch look for a fresh dip? As funny as that sounds, I've heard a lot of people say that they like tobacco. In a lot of stories, people gift tobacco to Bigfoot and they take it. You can look back at the Osman story, and that's how he got away from him. Wasn't it Osman? I think so. I think he gave the alpha some snuff, and he went over there and ate it. He was sick or something. And he run like a scalded dog. This guy here, that in and outdoor guy, he's more of an in guy than an outdoor guy. He cannot fillet a catfish for nothing. Hey, Larry and Mark, that is your opinion on making a stick structure to get a response from Anthony. No, Anthony, we're waiting on you to make a stick structure and get a response from Mark and Larry.
Okay.
Johnny, does a female Bigfoot wear perfume? Well, I'm sure they smell. I don't know that it's good. All right, Mark's about to get this picture up here. Tracy, welcome to the show. You missed Mark's bit on his self-circumcision. He looks like a Ken doll. I can't believe you got me kicked off YouTube. I went along with it.
Okay, let me see if I can share it like this.
Oh, everybody's
Yeah.
been waiting.
And is
You,
it pulling up?
you
Can you
missed a lot
see
of
it?
babbling. That's all. Yeah,
Okay. Throw it up there.
it's up there. It's a dead coyote. Jeremy Gibson and early on Sawdust Beast, he had a coyote thrown at him also.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yep, I do.
He had pictures of it. It's on his YouTube page. And I believe it was intact but mangled also. Well, there's Darth Vader come back again.
There. You know what I like about this? This is something that we have found in our area. And I'm not sure where Steven found this, but it's pretty cool that, I mean, how many animals? You've got to have hands to be able to twist something.
That ain't what Jamie says. Jamie says it just wants her belly stretched. That boy, you'd think he was in a training class somewhere. I don't know. Donald Fuller, what's your next planned expedition? Mark has them planned. I'm in limbo right at this point. Mark,
Well,
go ahead and answer.
I don't. I've got the Florida expedition with Carrie, the 168, and I'm going to be. CD Squatcher asked me if I would go to Brown Springs with her, so I will be going to that.
Why do they
And
call it Brown Springs?
I don't know, Larry.
Is that because they wash their underwear out in the spring?
Skid Mark, Oklahoma.
Yeah. Go on with your next item of expedition.
I'm not sure. Only thing that we've been concentrating on is getting you moved. And
Yeah.
so now that we've gotten that out of the way and get you settled in somewhere, then
That bridge though was pretty nice that I moved under. You know?
yeah. I mean, you have gone from a $35,000 house trailer to a $168 million bridge. I mean, it don't get no better than that, Larry.
It don't. I made it. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. JJ had something else up there and it reset and right when I was about to click on it. But the coyote we saw at LBL was twisted more than that one we showed. But gee whiz, here it is, maybe. Was there any sign of struggle around the coyote? Take it away, Mark.
I don't believe there was.
I wonder if he's asking about the twisted one or the one John sent you.
That I cannot answer.
Duke said the little people like tobacco.
You know, and the one that we found, we heard it get killed the night before.
Mm-hmm. I said that while you're looking for a picture.
Okay.
Kathy asked, if you twist your coyote, you might be a sketch squatch. Do you get that?
Kathy's
Mark,
gonna have to elaborate.
It's just a simple joke, and you let it go right
Yeah.
over your head.
That happens often.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Well, Mark, we went an hour and 15 minutes more than I planned on. And I'm winding down here. Shelley won't ask no questions.
Well, I just want to reiterate what I said earlier. If you have an opinion or a theory on something, then it is your responsibility to prove it to others. And you have to figure out what obstacles that you have to get around to prove it. And don't get mad if somebody doesn't agree with your opinion or theory. Let that be your motivation to figure out how to prove it. And if somebody has a different opinion or theory than you do, and if it's not provable, why bother trying to shoot them down and make them look bad and throw them up underneath the bus? Work on how you can prove your theory.
That's right. I don't know. I think Duke said that coyote picture come from his show with William Lunsford last night. I have no idea. Mark, do you have
Yeah,
any idea?
I do not.
I know William showed me pictures similar to that, so it
Yeah,
could be. I don't know.
yeah.
But this is a thing that happens pretty regularly, that the coyotes tend to get killed off a little bit every now and then. But you know what Kimbo Slice says. A Bigfoot gotta eat.
Yep.
Oh, all right, folks. I don't know that there's any other questions, and I don't have any answers to begin with. So it's night time, Mark.
All right, Larry. Well, I hope you do good in your schooling
Man,
the
I'm
next
learning
two
so
weeks.
much. I'm going to have half of Memphis out, sell tires, probably the airport. No telling what whenever I start splicing this fiber cable. It'll be great.
Yeah,
Good fun.
yeah.
I can remember when I started a long time ago, you cut off the wrong wire, you hear the fire department rolling somewhere because you done set a fire alarm. I've been sitting there working and the fire department pull up and go, my bad, guys. It was me.
You can laugh about that now.
Woo, yeah. It's changed a lot over the past few years, but that don't happen much anymore. But anyway, we hope everybody has a good evening. We thank everybody for taking part in Mark's procedure, and hope y'all survived it. If you enjoyed the show, give a thumbs up. If you didn't, give a thumbs down, because Mark don't give a crap. It ain't his channel. He don't
And
care.
hopefully Thursday night I won't be having to wear a diaper anymore.
Just put some coconut oil on it. It'll be good. All right, everybody. Y'all have a good night, and we will see y'all Thursday on Mark's show, and his guest will be named at a later date.
I guess we had a cancellation, so I haven't heard nothing back yet, so don't know, but we'll figure out something.
Go check out Duke's show from William last night. William Lunsford was on there. He's always a great guest. It's better when you go out fishing with him, but it's good to see him on the show too. But I'd prefer to pull some bass out of the water too. But check him out, and don't forget Moog tomorrow night. And I guess that's it. Is there anything else, Mark?
That's it.
All right. Well, we're going to see y'all Thursday night. Y'all have a good night.
Night, footers.
There's that delay.